A black woman designed the 1994 SCN 95 Mustang. And I tried to make a comparison between music promoters finding talent and high level executives in the elites, those who are like friends with Bill Gates and all of that, right? Them sort of scouting and finding talents within rural areas, like the hood, um, in America. Um, so, like, in order to have success, right, you have to have two things going for you. You either are someone who's given sexual favors or someone who's going to tolerate sexual harassment, right? This lady who designed that car, right? They tout her for being the first person or the first woman to do that. And I said, well, who's the first man to do that? And without any particular ethnicity, right? And we hear about Henry Ford, right, who has his own museum in Detroit. We hear about Henry Ford, but we don't hear about a black man who designed the first car. Um, so they'll give it to Henry Ford, right? And during the time that he was designing cars, right, we can't think of any women who were around him who were also designing cars. We can think of Madam C.J. Walker, right, who was designing health and beauty products. But we can't think of like, a woman who was designing cars back then. And we probably know they existed. Um, so you have your Megan Thee Stallions, you have your Sexy Reds, you have your Glorillas. Um, the list goes on. Um, the Dage Lows. All these women, right? At some point they had to deal with sexual harassment or, um, yeah, sexual harassment, um, or forcement of sexual favors by men in order to get to where they needed to go in their career. Um, so I would say that was the same thing for this lady who designed that car. Um, and the reason I thought about this and I brought this up was because we live in a society where white men get to pick who is chosen, right? Um, we saw how LeBron James' career went, right? Um, his whole success was revered around white men sort of hyping him up, you know. Um, and they made a big deal about him being from Akron, Ohio, and him bringing his teammates along with him who were in high school with him. And them sort of like solidifying his legacy and his endorsement. Um, but like you see him when he was in Memphis, right, on a golf course, he was around a lot of white males, you know. It's very difficult to have success in America, you know, if you're not a white male. Because with white males, right, they look for two things from you. They look for sexual favors and sexual advances. Um, in order to help you get to where you need to go. And like no one has said anything about, this type of behavior. You know what I mean? Like this stuff happens on jobs at entry level. This stuff happens in college campuses. This stuff happens everywhere around this world. Um, and it's sort of just like looked over and it's not taken seriously. Um, People really don't care. You know, it's they think of it, and you can kind of see it with the women in hip hop and R&B, right? Who are American born. Um, they sort of get a hype out of having money or some sort of um, free advancement. Like it's like some sort of free status. You know, like to be something is to like to be touted as having some type of status. You know, and it's sort of like the man get the glory of the stick, where it's just like they're not taken seriously because they can achieve the success that women achieve, even though the success that women achieve is because of white males, who is like the ultimate enemy to black men. You know, so like kind of think about that, like really, you know, think about that. Great peace, Yakoki.